What is going on, Wolfpack Nation? Welcome to our mid-season review report card, grade time, whatever you want to call it. But at the end of the day, we are halfway through the season. 7 weeks in is bye-week time. So we figured, hey, what better thing to do right now than kind of take a look back, dive through things position by position. And in today's episode, we're actually be talking about specifically the offense. And we got kind of a little bit of a treat here as you may recognize, obviously, Macon and myself as, we're the OGs for sure, the OGs for Tuffy Talk. But we got with us here today Lindsay Ware, which if you haven't seen the live stream yet, she is our newest member of the Tuffy Talk team. So Lindsay, welcome once again, and we're excited to have you.
Thank you.
And excited to get some thoughts here for you. And if you want to learn more about Lindsay, I would say go check out the live stream because we instead of duplicating it, we only got a certain amount of time. We got a lot to talk about on the offensive side. So I would highly suggest if you want to learn more about Lindsay, go check out the Tuffy Talk live show from Monday, and you'll learn more about her there. But anyway, y'all, so how we're going to do this is, so now that we have 6 people between Macon, Lindsay, myself, and then Michael, Greg, and Ken's, we're actually going to be doing kind of a split. So today, Macon, Lindsay, and I will be talking about the offense. And then tomorrow's episode, Greg, Michael, and Ken's are going to be breaking down the defensive side. So kind of giving you guys a little bit of taste of the whole Tuffy Talk team here. But anyway, y'all, so we're going to start off today with the running backs. And so kind of how this works is we'll kind of give each of us kind of give our thoughts, what grade we would give. Pluses and minuses are fully accepted, and just kind of see where we stand. So, Macon, kind of give me your initial thoughts, the running back, and what grade would you give so far, 7 games in?
Yeah, 7 games in. I think, looking back on it, they've had some good moments, but there's a lot there that's left me to be desired. I think, particularly when you consider one of your running backs just decide he wasn't going to play anymore. So I don't know how you grade that, but you got Michael Allen, you had Jordan Houston, Delbert Mims. I think has been a little bit of a positive, produced more than I thought he would this season in different ways. Took maybe a step forward for him, but I just feel like there's more there that they could be shown. Now, is that because the offensive line is struggling? Is that because the players themselves aren't so great? I don't know. I feel like a C is probably acceptable for the running backs. They're not doing anything horribly, except I will say I don't think Michael Allen's a very good pass blocker, and his PFF grading's kind of shown that.
It's terrible.
Jordan
7.8. It's terrible.
Yeah, is that what the average is? I didn't know that.
7.8 over the season. Yeah,
oh my gosh, terrible. So, but he's producing on offense enough to me it helps make up for that from like an individual standpoint. So I'm going to go with a C grade for the running backs. I tend to think some of their performance has been hindered by the offensive line, and I think they've done decent with what they've had, but there's still room for improvement.
I like it. Lindsay, what you got?
Yeah, I'm with you there. I think the running backs aren't performing at the level that they should be. But again, we can't blame all of the offensive issues in one area. And I think the running backs are kind of doing better than a lot of our other areas now. I think I'm going to go B-. I'll go ahead and straight up say Ken's, Michael, and Greg got the lucky straw getting to do defense because it only gets worse from here. But yeah, I think there's a lot of running back potential that's not really being discovered. Honestly, interesting to see when Jordan Houston decided that he was redshirting this season and leaving the team. I don't know what kind of effect that's had on the overall running backs in general. But yeah, I think this isn't a great area for the NC State football team, but it's not our worst area for sure. So I'm going to go B- and hoping for improvement.
Yeah. Yeah, for me, I think losing Jordan Houston definitely hurt because again, you lost that experienced kind of all around running back and by far our best pass blocker. I mean, he got an 87.2 pass blocking rating over the 3 games he played, and the next closest run blocking grade is Kendrick Raphael at a 60. So like a 27 point decrease, and from a guy that's a true freshman and's only played in 5 games. He's been dealing with
Well,
injuries. Go ahead.
yeah, I'm just looking through PFF's grading them, and I didn't even realize this, but even now looking back on it, they have us for 0 touchdowns at the running back position on the season, and it says, at least what it's saying here, it's got.
Delbert Mims has scored a few.
Oh, maybe
scored.
I'm looking at the wrong one. Well, let's backtrack that because I'm looking.
Yeah,
hold on,
I was
pause.
thinking like no, Delbert Mims has gotten a good amount.
Then why
of
does it say
touchdowns.
touchdowns is 0? I promise I'm looking at
Maybe,
the right thing.
maybe receiving touchdowns.
Maybe it was week 7. Maybe it was week 7 I'm looking at, not on the season. Okay, sorry,
Maybe
that's my fault.
Yeah, no, you're good. But yeah, no, and so and like obviously we've seen a lot of spark with Kendrick Raphael. My biggest thing with Michael Allen, first of all, is his pass blocking. I mean, again, 7.8 grade on PFF is just absolutely god awful. But I mean, more just with Michael Allen is so frustrating because he has the speed. I mean, you saw it against Marshall in that touchdown. I mean, that breakaway speed. But he just has an issue with just finding a way to go north. Like I think he's just trying to process too much instead of just finding a hole and just going north. Go get 5 or 6 yards. It doesn't need to be a 20, 30-yard run every single time. And with Kendrick Raphael, like against Duke, there was one in particular where I saw it was a great cut. Again, just exactly what you saw. He found that gap, went north, and again, it was awesome. And so I think that's my biggest thing with Michael Allen is just, I think with the running backs in general, is that they kind of talked about it, where unfortunately, since the offensive line is not super strong, the running backs aren't to that caliber level where they can overcome that loss, and basically kind of still come out of it strong. So like that's kind of the problem, is that especially with the running game or even the passing game, like when football in general, like specifically in the running game, you need the offensive line and the running backs to play great. And then with the passing game, you need the quarterbacks and the receivers predominantly to play great. And when both of them are not doing, great, then it's lackluster. And I think that has a lot to do with this. You have issues on the offensive line, and the running backs haven't been to that potential where they can overcome those issues on the offensive line side to make the running game effective. So for me, I would give it a C-. I would say that they have done enough to be feasible, but they haven't really gone above and beyond where they've really stood out on the pass blocking side, the receiving side, or the run game side. Like they've been okay, but there hasn't been like a wow moment necessarily get from the running back side. So
I mean, I'm just looking here too. I think he's got, if I'm not mistaken, is Brent Armstrong still the leading rusher for the team?
I'm sure. I have.
So I mean,
I think he is.
It's hard to give this group any higher grade if he's struggling, if their quarterback's the leading rusher. Granted, Armstrong's a very good rusher, but he hasn't played. He didn't play already 2 games, and he's still your leading rusher. So that's not really good.
No.
And I see your C-, and I get it. But also, I think I'm the teacher who's grading not just on how each piece is doing, but how they do in comparison to each other. So I think compared to some other offensive areas, I think I'm giving the running backs the B- because I want to say they're doing better than most of the rest of their offense. Okay. And you're right, when one area of the offense is not doing well, another can't do well, and it's just like a domino effect. So everybody, I think, is really struggling here. You were saying Michael Allen thinks he has to run like 20 yards every time. Yeah, you're right. And it's funny that he tries that because his average yards per reception is only 4.8, where Kendrick Raphael's is 8.3. So he definitely needs to try to just get the ball, stick to the basics. But I find it promising that there is young talent here. Allen's a sophomore and Raphael's a true freshman. So I think there's room for growth if the rest of the offense is able to grow and kind of find stability and routine. I think those running backs would be able to develop as well.
I love it. Love it. Yeah. Great insight, Lindsay. Yeah. So for the sake of time, we're definitely going to, for the rest of 3, not quite spend as much time as we have on the running backs, but again, great comments and great breakdown for sure. So moving on to the offensive line, Lindsay, kind of give it to me first. You kind of talked about, it only goes downhill. And I mean, offensive line has been a huge frustrating point because I mean, I think about Notre Dame and how they only gave up one sack against Notre Dame, and against VMI they gave up only one pressure total against VMI, one pressure total against VMI. And so, but then you see Duke and these other games, and it's like they struggle. So, what are your thoughts on it?
Absolutely. There's a lot of inconsistency on the offensive line, and I think it's contributing significantly to offensive struggles as well as just kind of low team morale. Against Duke, the line gave up 4 sacks, had 4 false starts, and was called for holding twice. And like Ken said in the live stream, just stand still. Like, stop moving. Why do we have so many false starts? Relax. The offensive line is where I'm seeing a lot of this kind of emerge from, I feel like. And I think it's causing issues in other places, like with the running backs I was saying. So they're getting an F from me. They're failing. They need to reflect, talk to an eye, and figure their stuff out.
Man, you were the one that was grading on a scale, and you're giving the offensive line an F. I can't imagine what you're going to give the wide receivers, but
All right,
so yeah.
maybe a D minus if I'm feeling generous today.
All right. I was going to say, I was like, oh man, Bacon, what you got?
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like maybe F is a little too harsh. I think the D minus is probably there about where I'm at. I feel like a D.
Yeah.
Is about where I'm at with them. They're not playing. I mean, they're not playing well. I mean, they're just not. Now, are they like the worst offensive line I've ever seen? No. But I'm curious where the sacks that we have as a team. I think we have 12 sacks on the season allowed. Where that ranks in the ACC. But it's things like. You could look directly at the rushing yards, and that is somewhat of a correlation to the performance of the team. Now, granted, the quarterback's running, but he's the one with the ball most of the time. And I feel like he's probably doing that more in spite of the offensive line. A lot of times when a quarterback's running, he's trying to creating plays that aren't there, and sometimes because his receivers are getting blocked downfield or getting covered downfield. I just see a lot of little things not meshing well. I think there's some positives, but it's just something that I don't feel that their team's doing. The offensive line's playing pretty well on. I think the sacks is at 12 sacks is pretty notable. It's just not great to me.
Well, especially, I mean, so I'm looking at it right here. So DeMarcus Jones actually gave up 3 sacks. At least that's what PFF credited Marcus Jones with, giving up 3 sacks. And then it's Lyndon Cooper with 2, Anthony Belton with 2, and then Matt McCabe, Chris Tootle, Michael Allen, Derek Eason, and Dylan McMahon each with 1. So it's interesting that actually the 25% of your sack contributions, is falling on DeMarcus Jones, at least per PFF. So interesting there. But yeah, no, I mean, and you settled on the D, right, Macon? Isn't that what you said, Macon?
Yeah, I'm going with the D. I just feel like there's room for improvement there. I feel like the area that they're there's things that particularly like some players, like I remember we had a discussion about Jacarius Peak a while ago that's kind of excelling in one area and not another. But I don't know. I just don't see a lot of really good grades from our offensive linemen. I mean, I know we give high regard to Dylan McMahon, but I'm just seeing there's some room for improvement there.
Yeah, no, for me, I mean, I'll probably give a D as well too. I mean, more just because the consistency is frustrating, and a lot of that has to do with definitely losing Dylan McMahon for 2 games. I mean, that's the quarterback of the offensive line, and you lost him for 2 games, and so then you have to reshuffle. You had to get Lyndon Cooper to basically learn a new position at center. And then obviously losing Dawson Jaramello, the Oregon transfer, definitely hurt for sure. I mean, he was a guy that, I mean, hearing in camp, I mean, he was going to play a good amount of snaps, if not even possibly start at guard, possibly for this offensive line. So losing him before the season even started for the whole season, kind of throws off a lot, especially from the depth perspective. So, yeah, I mean, I'm definitely kind of sitting here saying that there's talented pieces specifically with Tim McKay, Dylan McMahon, and Anthony Belton. And I think that there's a young talent in Jacarius Peak, but I mean, just unfortunately, like Derek Eason, has a not so great pass blocking grade, and I mean, if you go follow Inside Pack Sports or Pack Pride or any of those guys that break down all the games, I mean, unfortunately, that's a name that gets brought up a lot. Derek Eason at guard, which is tough because he's a graduate student. So I mean, he's experienced. Like he should be past, struggling like this. So yeah, I'm gonna stick with the D as well. All righty, so let's move on to wide receivers, y'all, and then we will end with the quarterbacks. So I will go ahead and start us off from the wide receiver side. It's oh, it's frustrating. Like literally the only thing, like I'm probably going to give a D minus only for the fact that Kevin Concepcion has been absolutely that phenomenal, that he by himself, like literally Kevin Concepcion has carried the wide receivers in the offense, not only on the field but in my grade as well. Like he's carrying the team on the field and my grade, and the fact that they're getting a D minus. But I mean, besides that, I mean, the drops and key times have just been frustrating. Rosner, like like the fact that we brought in Rosner to be kind of that stretch guy, that deep threat guy, and we haven't even really gone to him downfield at all this season. And I think a lot of it has to do with the trust factor, the fact that it's I just don't know if the coaching staff have enough faith in him being like, I don't know if I really want to take these deep shots when you're having these bad drops that you shouldn't be having, being an eighth year college football player, and keep in mind as well, I mean, like these are not personal shots, like it's really just this factual, and there's nothing more I want than to give A's across the board, being like you are playing amazing, and like if we were grading as on the people, we'd give A pluses across the board. But just unfortunately, again, Keon Lassane, he's has one of the highest drop rates on the entire team. Julian Gray being a guy that preseason, was like, oh, watch me, it's gonna be a breakout season for me. And a lot of guys even circled saying Julian Gray is gonna be the breakout guy. Hasn't really done that. Terrell Timmons has had signs here and there, but hasn't been a consistent guy. And so but again, Kevin Concepcion being, I mean, he's staring first team rookie freshman All ACC right in the face. He's staring, freshman All American, list probably right in the face as well. I mean, he's been absolutely phenomenal, and as long as we can keep him, then I'm going to be thrilled, and State fans should be excited about the future you're going to have with that guy and some of the other talents we're bringing at the wide receiver position as well with MJ Morris. So, Lindsay, what you got for us, wide receiver?
Yeah, major shout out Kevin Concepcion. He's my only hope as well, only thing keeping me above that F mark. It is frustrating to watch that he's stepping up almost out of necessity because no one else can seem to make a catch. The drops are embarrassing. Nothing is worse as a fan than thinking that your wide receivers are going to make a catch and they do not. So major shout out to Kevin Concepcion. I know you were talking in the live stream about Anai saying, if anyone wants to step up the way Kevin Concepcion has, please be my guest. And that's kind of where I am right now. Kevin Concepcion is the only thing kind of holding our wide receivers together. He leads the team in receiving with 410 yards. Everyone else is kind of allowing this offense to crumble around them. So if anyone else wants to stand up and, put in that work like Kevin Concepcion, I will be very thankful.
Yeah. So it sound like a D minus there, Lindsay?
Yeah, D minus.
Cool. Megan, what you got?
Well, I mean, so I was looking here at the drops for the season on the receivers, and it says it's 17 drops in the receiving core, and I am including the tight ends as well there. That's not as many as I actually thought there might be, but because it feels like it's a lot more, and I feel like it's because a lot of those drops are coming on critical plays, and it's kind of hurting the offense because you feel like when you have a quarterback, either he's hitting you in the hands, or like, let's go the last couple of games with MJ. Like, he's a guy who's not starting on the road before, so he did it against Duke, and he's his first game basically after last year. He only had a small sample size, and so he kind of needs that confidence. A lot of those touchdowns, I mean, 2 of those touchdowns against Marshall were, you know, broken plays where Penix able to get open. One was like a pitch shuffle pass to Conception going around, and I mean, I don't think the receivers have really been doing the quarterback any favor with the timing of their drops, and some of them are. I mean, I know there's a rule like if it hits you in the hands, it should be a catch, and that's the receiver's mindset, and just not happening. You know, I think for me, I'm going to give State. I feel like I'm probably going to give them a D. Again, like kind of match with the offensive line's doing. There's spots, obviously Conception's kind of carrying the weight there, but it's just not what it should be. I saw on PFF there's a grading they have on just like your ability when you're targeted, how like your scoring on how you catch the ball and not having drops, and your best rated players are not even at the receiver position. They're like some of your receivers and your tight end, like Penix and Michael Allen, or like that. So I just, you can't catch the ball. So that I'm harping on them. But even then, the only player that I really see exploding away, like yak yards of the contact, or just average depth of target, those kinds of things, would be Concepcion. You know, when he gets the ball, he can do more with it in his hands. Penix got a little bit of that as well. But I'm not really seeing that from guys like Collins. I'm not really seeing it from Gray, who we thought could be that kind of guy who you use all over the field. Timmons and Anthony Smith in particular, they just seem relatively non-existent. They've had a couple, and Timmons had a couple deep passes, but it's not enough for this offense. And when I think it's all compiling together to what the offense is right now, which is unfortunate. But I'm going to give it a D. I'm going to give it a D for the receivers.
Before we continue, I want to take a quick second to tell you about our sponsor, Flatlands Jessup Insurance Group, that has your whole world covered, with agents in 5 offices throughout eastern North Carolina to help you decide how much coverage you need. Offering policies for home and auto, recreational vehicles, commercial, crop, health, life, and employee benefits. They are able to combine options to find a comprehensive solution that works for you. Flatlands Jessup protects the things you love so you can spend less time worrying and more time enjoying them. Find them on Facebook and Instagram at Flatlands Jessup. You can also visit their webpage at www.flatlandsjessup.com. So please make sure to go and check them out. Well, an interesting thing too is that, like, looking at the Duke game, like, is one guy we haven't talked about. So like Terrell Timmons was involved in 24. He ran 24 routes. He got 5 targets. Kevin Concepcion ran 43 routes, got 10 targets. Keon Lassane ran 33 routes, got 7 targets. Porter Rooks ran 30 routes and got 1 target. He ran 30 routes and got 1 target.
You're not commanding targets, right? You're just.
But being a redshirt junior like he is, I mean, he should be commanding more. Like, you ran 30 routes, like, they're not even looking at you then. Like, you're just out there. So, like, I like my metaphor from the live stream was, I mean, he was just a garden gnome against Duke. I mean, he was just out there just taking space. Like, you know, you run 30 routes, you only get thrown the ball to you 1 time. So, and by the way, that 1 time wasn't even a catch. So,
it's clear some of these guys are really not pulling their weight out there. Again, they are just there as garden gnomes.
It's just not clicking.
You could put me out there and I'll run around and you could not throw it to me at that point. I honestly also thought there were more drops, but like you said, Macon, it's that these drops are coming at the moments that we need them to be caught the most. And I think that's what's really making the difference here. Not the number of drops, but the impact that those drops have and the times that they happen. So time for them to step it up. Yeah.
Well, and again, just finally, just finding a way, to make it work, get the right guys in there that, that fit with what we're trying to do. All right. So quarterbacks, let's wrap this up. So, quarterbacks wise, I think that, for me, I'm going to give, a solid B. I think that B is fair in the fact and I said this on the live stream that I think that people really gave Brennan a lot more of the burden, as if the offense struggled more because of him. When after what we saw against Duke, it's so obvious that the problems went far beyond Brennan Armstrong, far beyond it. And I mean, actually, the interesting part is that PFF, over the entire season, Brennan Armstrong has actually a better passing grade than MJ Morris does. Now, again, I mean, it's all relative per se, but it's kind of tough really to say too much about it. I mean, I think that, with MJ in particular, I mean, 5 drops in the first half. So just like Macon said, the wide receivers just haven't been doing the quarterback any favors. And unfortunately, when you as a quarterback, and in football in general, if you do not trust that guy next to you, you're going to have a problem. Like, if you don't have all the faith in the world, like in Philip Rivers' speech, where he talked about, together, you got to love each other, and the fact that, you got to love each other, support each other, and play your butts off for each other. And you got to trust each other. And I feel like that right now it's tough to say that trust is there, because it's obvious that there's something off. And so for me, unfortunately, with quarterbacks, it's hard to kind of talk too much specifically about them, because the issues are like the binoculars are focused way more on everything else around them than it really is MJ and Brennan, at least in my eyes. So, but again, solid, hasn't been spectacular, but hasn't been bad. So, B, making what you got.
I feel like I might have to go C here, and part of it, like I said, so State is tied for the most interceptions in the FBS in the country with UCLA right now at 10 interceptions. Yep. Some of that's not their fault, their quarterback's fault. I mean, I know a few weeks ago I'm thinking like some of these interceptions I'm seeing are like, I can think of 2 that Conception's had where it hits him in the hands, tips off his hands, and goes into the breadbasket. I've seen some where it really is just a bad throw. I know MJ had a bad throw in the bubble screen over there against Marshall when he played them. I mean, it was similar, just bad plays. But I feel like a lot of it is receivers not catching the ball or hitting them off the hands, and it's going into the DBs, the defense. And I think what Brennan brought in the rushing game was notable. I think it's a positive for him. I think MJ has such a small sample size, it's hard to know. And like I said, we would have this discussion before. Brennan had a completion percentage, I think, when he left after that Louisville game. I think it was like 58% completion or something like that. And we were talking about, MJ's going to come in, and it's we joked about it, called it MJ Morris or whatever, and it's like, well, he only had 60% or something like that in the 3 games or so he played last season, and I think you're starting to see maybe he's not that much better than Brennan Armstrong, which is a really bad thing for State, because now I don't really know which way you go. Do you go with the guy who's younger, or you just let it ride with him, or do you go with the guy who actually has rushing upside and
try to preserve MJ's red shirt,
Yeah, I don't know which way you go there. So for me, I'm going to give it a C, maybe even a C minus. Wow. And I just don't feel very positive about the quarterback position right now. I think there's areas, particularly with Brandon's ability to run the ball, that I like at our quarterback position, but it's just not good. And I think kind of sums it up overall with I mentioned the interceptions being like tied for first in the country at 10 interceptions. We are not doing well in passing yards. Or I guess the number I was looking at there. Yeah, kind of low on passing yards. We are tied for, I think we're 4th in the country, lowest on yards per pass attempt at 6.09 yards per pass attempt on average. So we're not. The offense is kind of playing somewhat shallow relative to the rest of the country. There's a lot of interceptions, not a ton of passing scoring. And I don't even count some of these, like the shuffle pass plays we're making, because those are passes, but they're not passes because you're not really moving the ball. So right. I can't grade the quarterback position really high on that.
Well, and the other thing which I'll add is, first of all, of those 10 interceptions, people might be shocked to think about that MJ Morris actually has 4 of them in his 2 games.
So
in 2 games he has 4 interceptions. So I mean, now again, is it his fault? some, but not. But I mean, like again, the bubble screen, not really all on his fault. Again, one went through Kevin Concepcion's hands, etc. But the other thing, which I'll say as well, and I've really tried to do this more this season, but the lack of separation the wide receivers is giving the quarterbacks off the defense it's tough. Like again, that you're not really you're basically forcing the quarterback to make perfect throws. You're not doing them any favors with the drops. You're not doing them any favors with forcing them to throw in tight windows. So that's our thing as well. Lindsay, what you got for us?
Yeah, I think I'm going to go in between that B and that C and say B minus. It was so easy as fans to, boo Brennan and say MJ's the answer. And I was team MJ too. He was our first true freshman since Phillip Rivers to get to start for the Wolfpack last season, and he was ACC Rookie of the Week twice. But as we've talked about here, this issue is so much larger than the starting quarterback. And I don't know if MJ really is the answer. But I don't really think it's Brennan either. That being said, I think there's potential in both of them that's being wasted on other parts of this offense struggling to find a rhythm and put the best guys out on the field. So I would personally stick with MJ, at least for the time being, and I give it a B minus. I think there's room for growth, there's room for development there. But I think other pieces of the offense need to fall into place in order for the quarterback, whoever that may be, to be successful. So I'm going to go, this is definitely not our worst offensive area, but there is room for improvement. I'm going B minus.
Love it.
Dang, I was the harshest to grade us all of us in the quarterback position, I feel like.
Well, and that's okay. I mean, hey, listen. I mean, it's not a perfect science.
Matter of opinion, I guess, for all of us. Like,
it's a matter of opinion.
It's interesting because I know some of you had like a worse grade than I did on others, but that's just it's interesting perspective we all have on where each group is in offense.
Well, remember, I mean, hey, Lindsay gave offensive line F at first, which I was like, whoa, So
I changed to B minus. I felt bad.
Yeah, no, it's all good. Hey, listen, if that's what your gut telling you, that's what your gut's telling you. So, yeah, no, and who do we play after Clemson? Is it Miami?
Miami.
Yeah. So honestly, for me with MJ, I'm saying you play MJ against Clemson and Miami. And then now you played now you've played 4 games, and then you kind of evaluate from there, being like,
I don't know. I think I would evaluate after Clemson. I think
that probably too.
If you look like a nightmare after Clemson, you don't get to go face Miami. But then is the answer go back to Brennan? I don't know, because I mean we just watched UNC beat Miami by double digits. We have to play UNC a little over a month from now too. Do we let MJ go out there against Miami? Again, I was team MJ from the beginning, but if he doesn't look good against Clemson and we get spanked the way we did against Duke, do we let him play against Miami? Do we go back to Brennan?
Well, and do you bring out Brennan as kind of like a time to, like it's your last shot.
Put up or shut up, so to speak.
Yeah.
I mean, these are going to be his last 5 games in a college uniform. It's like, all right, here's your shot,
Here's my thoughts. I actually think you go with Brennan at Clemson, because I think one thing this team is missing on offense in particular, but I don't know about defense, because I can see it on defense. I think there's some intangible things, and I think some of it's like some leadership, some seniority maybe kind of standing out. And MJ is still young, man, and Brennan's a senior, and he's a grad player, and I feel like he can bring some toughness to the team mentality wise that I won't say that MJ doesn't have, but I can just sense there's a toughness that's a little bit more special with Brennan. Now, does that translate to every completion? No. Does that translate to every play being executed great? No. I think for us, we need to go with some intangibles right now. And for me, I wouldn't throw MJ out there to Clemson, or both to Clemson and Miami, and then be like, oh yeah, well, thanks for your 4 games of service, see you later, and we're going to go back to Brennan. I feel like you have the bye week, you figure it out right now, and you're like, okay, we're doing this unless something unless you throw like 3 interceptions in a game,
or if somebody gets injured.
We're sticking with this guy. I don't know how you. I don't know. I mean, I go back to Marshall. MJ had 4 touchdowns, but they weren't like crazy throws. It was 2 broken plays with Penix, a little shovel packs to Conception, and he had 1 nice throw to Conception as well. So it was like, I mean, it was right up the middle. So 1 out of 4 was like a legit throwing touchdown, in my opinion. So
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think Brennan has.
tough.
Go ahead.
No. Go ahead.
I think Brennan has the leadership potential that this team might need, but I also think one of the things holding this team together is its fan base. And you can't even put Brennan out there like to warm up without people in the student section starting to boo. And I'm like, what does that do for team morale? And what does it do for fan morale if you tell them, oh, we gave you him, Jay Morris, and now we're bringing Brennan back? Are people mad?
That's
Are
very
people
true.
still booing?
Nope.
And how does that
That's
mess
very
up
true.
like the team mentality? So I think it's hard to go out there and perform as a team if your own fans are booing and telling you to bring out the other quarterback.
And that's why the coaches are paid the big bucks and not us.
Exactly.
So,
But it is a great point. The fact, I mean, again, you're asking Brennan to basically like go through, like, even if he throws an incomplete pass, it might not even be his fault whatsoever. That the fans are going to look at Brennan and be like, that was your fault, And
Right.
so it's tough. Yeah. So again, y'all, huge to see what's going to happen here after the bye week. But make sure, again, y'all, to stay tuned. As again, tomorrow we're going to be coming out with Greg, Michael, and Kenzer as they break down the defense and give their grades for each position within the defense as well. So to make sure you do not miss out on that, do us a big favor, y'all, and hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell. And if you enjoyed this conversation, do us a big favor, hit that like button, and make sure to go give us a follow, Tuffy Talk Now, on Twitter, Instagram, or TikTok, y'all. But we'll see y'all soon. 5 more games guaranteed. Let's see what we can do with it, and let's see if we can win out, baby. Let's go. Go Pack, y'all.